What is happening, football fans? Welcome back to another glorious episode of Gridiron Glory. I'm Jaush Huntsberger. After looking at our lineup for games for tonight, I had a feeling that this might be the week of the sleepers. Most of our teams are matched up with tough opponents with nothing to lose and potentially the drive to play spoiler. To find out which underdogs prevailed, let's get rolling. The community of Williamstown, West Virginia is facing a scenario it isn't too familiar with when it comes to high school football, missing the playoffs. The Yellow Jackets are currently sitting at the 19th spot in the state rankings, with only the top 16 making the postseason. Tonight they hosted Wirt County, who is sitting at 4-2 and ranked 11th in the state. We now welcome our West Virginia reporter, Ian McConville, to the desk. Our Williamstown specialist, really. Ian, Williamstown is in very unfamiliar territory.
It definitely is, Josh. Williamstown finds itself in serious danger of missing the postseason for the first time in over a decade. But Coach Terry Smith told me earlier this week that his team can't get caught worrying about the playoffs and just take the rest of the year one game at a time. Tonight, the Jackets faced a dangerous Wirt County squad, and Williamstown gets ready to take the field. They know the importance of this game. Now, on this first play, David Hastings, he's going to take the ball up the middle for Williamstown on his first possession. But that drive would ultimately stall. Now, Tigers quarterback Joshua Tremblay, he's going to find Wesley Valentine for a big gain on third on this swing pass, a 5-yard gain there. And now the Tigers are facing a fourth down near the goal line, and Nick Meadows, Alex Rauch, and David Hastings make the stop and give the Yellow Jackets the ball. But Williamstown was unable to capitalize, and the Tigers took advantage in a big way. Tremblay finds number 80, Gavin Goodnight, and he says goodnight to the Williamstown defense. 35-yard touchdown reception to put the Tigers up 7-0. Coach Smith trying to get his defense fired up. Williamstown's next possession, Trace Hart takes this ball up the middle, but he fumbles it, and Joseph Lowe falls on it for the Tigers. Jacob Linville now takes this ball to the right for Wirt County, and he's going to get a gain of 8, and he's going to run over a couple defenders in the process, Josh. Gives the Tigers a first down, and from there, Tremblay would fall into the end zone to give Wirt a 2-touchdown lead. Now, Hart takes this ball up the middle for Williamstown, runs over a couple defenders, and he's going to get himself a tough, hard-earned 9 yards. But on the very next play, Hart would fumble for the second time in the first half. Justin Joy is going to fall on it for the Tigers, and that would ultimately lead to the demise of the Williamstown Yellow Jackets. They fall in this one tonight, 35-0 over against Wirt County in a game where Williamstown only had 29 rushing yards in the first half. An offense that relies heavily on the rush can't rely on 29 rushing yards in a half. Plus those 3 turnovers were just absolutely critical in the ultimate loss for Williamstown tonight.
Turnovers. I'm sure that's what everybody on that Yellow Jackets team is thinking tonight, Ian. It really killed them.
Yeah, it definitely did. It didn't allow the offense to sustain any drives at all, because just Williamstown couldn't get any offensive balance rolling because they were just turning the ball over every time they touched it. Two fumbles, 1 interception in the first half, just absolutely unacceptable for a Williamstown offense that relies so heavily on the ground game.
Well, 35-0 being your final score, you guys really wouldn't know that this defense played pretty solid early.
The defense was lights out in the early goings of this game. It definitely allowed Williamstown to hang around in this game for a little while longer before ultimately just fatigue put away Williamstown in the second half and led to their loss tonight.
All right, Ian. Well, Williamstown might not be making the playoffs. That's something that hasn't happened in over a decade. Thanks a lot, Ian. Now, a lot of things were expected in the MVL this season, but one thing that nobody saw coming was that Sheridan would lose 3 straight games and be shut out in 2 of them. In the past 2 weeks, the Generals have completed only 7 passes for 90 yards. Tonight, they traveled to a 6-1 Maysville squad who also has a stout defense that could give the Generals even more problems. We now welcome our MVL reporter, Colin Brown, joining us in the studio for once. Colin, Maysville hasn't beaten Sheridan in a while.
Well, yeah, Josh. Do you know how long it's been since it was the last time that Maysville beat Sheridan?
I gotta say I don't, Colin.
Well, for how old you were, you weren't. You know, it was 28 years since the last time that the Panthers defeated the Generals. That was 1984. 1 year after Paul Culver Jr. took over the Red Rage in Thornville. With Craig Clark in charge at Maysville now and a new coaching staff, they really look like they're the real deal. Breast Cancer Night, always a good cause. First play from scrimmage, Jordan Hayes, the 43-yard run into Sheridan territory. 4 plays later on 4th down and 4 from the 23-yard line, Eli Chambers takes this sweep to the right, cuts it upfield, up the sideline. Touchdown, 7-0 Maysville. Sheridan's first possession, they move the ball the best that they have in the past 3 weeks. However, on 3rd and 7, Luke Fox tries to dance around and find something, but he can't. He's sacked. That forces the punt. Then Maysville, they're driving. They give it to Dylan Evans. He comes around to the left, lowers his shoulder, tells that kid that that's his house. And then where's Waldo? Over in the Sheridan student section, maybe? Who knows? Oh, there he is, kids these days, Josh, I tell you.
There's Waldo.
All right, so Sheridan, after encroachment on 4th and 2, the 19-yard pass from Jacob Miller to Justin Wilson, which sets up this 10-yard touchdown run for C.J. Harris. That's 14-0 Maysville. Then after a D-pick 23 INT, that's Dylan Evans for those of you who don't follow him on Twitter. Miller to Presley, 26-yard touchdown pass. They're up 21-0. Connor Smith, the 19-yard run. That gets momentum for Sheridan. And then Chase Heath finishes with the 5-yard touchdown run, 21-6 heading into halftime after the missed extra point for the Generals. And final score, 34-14 out in Maysville. And, wow, you know, Sheridan really looks pretty impressive. They ended the night with 207 rushing yards, but the passing still struggled. 1 for 5 on the night, 5 passing yards total, and 2 interceptions. So they're still struggling with that.
Sounds like it. Well, Colin, you know, we hear about TriValley's offense. We hear about Philo's defense. This Maysville team is just flat out a well-rounded football team, wouldn't you say?
Well, that's exactly right. They've got 3 or 4 guys on offense who can really, you know, hit the big play, big key runs for them. And then they've got good receivers who can catch the ball, a quarterback who doesn't, you know, feel pressured. He can make plays. And then on defense, they're pretty good as well. So really just a very well-rounded football team.
All right, Colin, for Sheridan, they've now dropped 4 straight games. The question everybody's wondering in Thornville, any chances for the playoffs?
Yeah, Josh, I really don't think there is. They were ranked 21 heading into this week, and then with the loss, you know, they're going to drop down a little bit. And then next week against TriValley, who's almost unbeatable, it's going to be really hard for them to get in the playoffs.
All right, Colin, well, I know you're excited for that Maysville-Philo matchup next week. Thanks a lot tonight, buddy. It's now time on our show for Extra Points. Tonight is a special edition because we are featuring just one game, and it took place last night between TriValley and John Glenn. And although there's nothing better than Friday nights in Gridiron Glory, this Thursday night game deserved a little loving too. So, without further ado, let's get going. We're starting off here. Nathan Strzok getting warmed up on our Player of the Year watch list. He's going to do a lot of things tonight for the TriValley Scotties, but no scores in the first quarter. Second quarter, first play, Austin Jones, 1-yard touchdown run, 7-0 TriValley. Now John Glenn doing their best to respond, giving it to their playmaker, Blake Adkins, on a little double handoff, little trickeration, up the middle with the counter, makes one miss, 19-yard pickup, and later on in that drive, they're going to give it back to Adkins, but nothing doing. TriValley defensive line says no, they'd be forced to punt. Now after a TriValley pretty impressive drive down to the 5-yard line, Strzok does the rest to Devin Moran. Nice pickup there for the touchdown. 13-0 after the missed extra point, 13-0 at halftime. Fast forward to the fourth quarter, no scores in between. Strzok here, as great as a pocket passer as he is, he likes to roll out a little bit too. Throws across his body, hits Adam Reese on the drag route, and he just does the rest. 48 yards down to the 8-yard line. Strzok finished with 2:14 in the air on the night. And Austin Jones, the other playmaker for TriValley, punches it in. 25-0 TriValley. Final score, 32-0. Now, if you'd like to keep up with TriValley or any of our other teams throughout the week, check us out on social media. You can like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter at Gridiron Glory for score updates, pictures, and more. You can also follow my host Twitter account at gghost_JAUSH. There you can get my opinions on weekly matchups, ask any questions, and let me know who you think will win each game of the week. Now, it's now time on our show for Fan of the Week. This week, we made the quick trip to Buckeye Country to see Nelsonville-York take on Alexander. And as anyone in southeastern Ohio knows by now, the fans in orange and brown love their high school football. I gotta tell you, fans, sorry to everybody else, but I think we've been waiting a little bit too long to come to Nelsonville-York here in the dog pound. That's a good dog. Does it feel weird? One more woo. All right, no, okay, that was awesome. We're gonna sit right here on the homecoming court seats. They're not coming yet. Come on, sit right here with me. Come on. As of right now, you and I are co-homecoming king. How's it feel?
Awesome.
Feels good, doesn't it? You got it. Does he have a name? Just Orange Man? Orange Man! You stand the whole game, just block everybody's view. You don't care. Yeah.
I'm a student section leader, so.
Student section leader. That means you guys get to stare at his fanny all game, right? Yeah. You just get to be like, yes, my bro! When I was your age, I could not spell the word yes, and you just spelled Bucks. That was pretty awesome. Dirty Mike? He's got a nickname, and it's Dirty Mike. Now, why do you think you should be our fan of the week, besides the fact you have awesome cheers?
Because I'm a Willie Buckeye fan, and I'm really cute.
You guys are all shivering. Everybody cold? Well, yeah, you got a toboggan and fuzzy fingers. You don't dance. Can I ask why? Not good at it. That's a great reason not to dance.
Let's have a woo-off.
Let's have a woo-off. Raiden, here we go. I'm baffled. Ladies, can you hit a higher note than that? Can anybody?
Give me a B! Give me a K! Give me an F! What's that spell? What's that mean?
Hey, Lindsay! Oh, great kick. Here you go, Lindsay. You're our fan of the week. Congratulations. Say go Buckeyes!
Go Buckeyes!
I think it's safe to say that Lindsay ranks #1 on our list for most adorable fan of the week. So congrats to you, Lindsay. Now we also sent a crew out to the Nelsonville-York's matchup against Alexander for our game of the week. So be sure to stick around to the end of our show to catch all of the highlights. Now, after losing to Wahama last week, Federal Hocking has dropped to the number 12 spot in Region 19, and winning out is the only way the Lancers will have a chance to make the playoffs for the second time in school history. We are now joined by our TVC-Hocking reporter, Mike Bunt. Mike, the Lancers matchup against Miller tonight seemed very winnable. How were they able to stay focused and not look past the Falcons?
Federal Hocking has been taking a game-by-game approach the entire season. After a trio of close wins early in their year, Kyle Jackson and Lancers know that they can't take anybody for granted. Today, FedHock came out ready as they continue to fight for second place in the TVC-Hocking. Early on, you see Kyle Jackson, he's ready for this game, but Miller's defense came out ready to play. They sack him, force a fumble, but FedHock would eventually recover. After a 3-and-out, Miller then fumbles the ball. FedHock recovers at the Miller 12-yard line. Delbert Crum says, I'm going to score here. He takes it from 12 yards out, scores 7-0 FedHock early on. Then here's an interesting play. Look at the big man right there. Dustin Spencer takes all 20 guys to get him down right here.
Looking like little giants
incredible
out there,
play
Mike.
right there. And then later in the series, you see FedHock get the ball back. Delbert Crum runs over Miller, goes for 25 yards. That would eventually set up another Delbert Crum touchdown, his second of the night, 2 yards out, 13-0 FedHock as they're starting to just pound it on Miller right here. Jackson throws a 35-yard pass to Alex Nichols, one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the TVC-Hocking right here, and Kyle Jackson. And then they eventually put it away in the drive right here. Ivan Santiago puts it in from 12 yards out, 21-0. FedHock leads, and they still continue to score in the second half. Play of the week nominee right here. Andrew Smith just deking out tacklers, just keeps on running, eventually finds the outside, runs it in from 51 yards out, 29-0 FedHock, and it just keeps on coming. It never stops. Kyle Jackson wants to get a touchdown pass here, so he rolls out on a 4th and 13 here, finds Ivan Santiago again, touchdown. They'd go into halftime up 41-0 before going on to win 55-0.
Wow, Mike, 55-0, huge win for them. Now, Kyle Jackson has been doing work for Federal Hocking. Would you say he's the most underrated quarterback in the Hocking?
Like I said in my chat, Kyle Jackson has to be the most underrated quarterback in TVC-Hocking. You always talk about Trenton Gibbs, Connor Stanley, but we always forget to mention Jackson. He came into the day with over 1,000 yards passing and 11 touchdowns. He added to that. He's definitely one of the top quarterbacks in the league and one of the main reasons why Federal Hocking has been so good on offense this year.
Well, Mike, wouldn't you say, just in general, this offense has really found their stride and opened up as the season's come along?
Yeah, after winning games with their defensive intensity, holding teams to a low amount of points early in the year, their offense has really opened up. You mentioned people like Romy Casey, their leading wide receiver, Delbert Crum, a credible starting running back who's more than held his own. Then you even add up people like Ivan Santiago today and even Andrew Smith with the 51-yard touchdown run. They have so many weapons, and they're just doing it from all over the place.
All right, Mike, real quick before we let you go, they have Eastern at home next week. What do you think is going to happen?
I think it's a game that FedHock should win, and it should set up a wonderful Week 10 matchup versus Trimble that will have tons of playoff implications.
All right, well, we'll be looking forward to that one. Great job tonight, Great job tonight, Mike. Thanks a lot. Now, after dropping two of their first 3 games this season, Gallia Academy has hit their stride, winning 4 straight. And ever since league play began 2 weeks ago, they've been on another level. Since then, the Blue Devils are averaging 34 points a game and are allowing just 14. Tonight, they traveled to Warren, who is 0-2 in the league play, but are led by the Warriors' all-time leader in passing, Dylan Leffingwell. we now welcome our SEOAL reporter, Graham Fugazi, to the desk. Graham, history favors the Blue Devils in this matchup.
I mean, that's absolutely right, Josh. You know, coming into this matchup between these two SEOAL opponents, you have to look at what happened. Gallia Academy had won 20 of the last 24 games between these two teams, and a chance at 3-0 in the SEOAL Conference was on the line for the Blue Devils tonight. Now, Josh, I went with the thermal wear in this game, but this guy, he went with the cutoff. You know, it's a little bit different there. Now, starting off for Warren's first possession after a Ty Warnemont 58-yard touchdown, running back Austin Kuhn, he says, I'm number 7. He gets 17 yards down to Gallia Academy's 37. Now Dylan Leffingwell, he's going to hit Chaz Miller on a 4th and 4 to convert and keep the drive alive. Then 2 plays later, Leffingwell, he's going to hit Jake Scott on the option pitch. Just like that, 7-7. Warren's still in it with 5:22 left in the first. Gallia Academy's next possession now. Warnemont, he said, you saw me once, you'll see me again. He's going to hit the hole. He's going to spin move. He's going to keep going down the sideline. 58-yard run for him from their own 21-yard line. And then 3 plays later, Wade Jarrell, we've heard about the name all year, from 3rd and 5 on their own on the 16-yard line. He scampers in from 16 yards out. Touchdown for the Blue Devils, 14-7. And Josh, he's going to give us a little bit of a smile. He's kind of excited about that. He says, yeah, that was kind of good. I'll give myself a little pat on the back there. And after Gallia Academy recovers a fumble off a kickoff, they drive down the field. Cody Russell punches in from 1 yard out, 21-7, topping off the 4-play drive. And now at the end of right before halftime, Leffingwell, he's going to let the arm loose. He's going to hit Andrew Vincent for 13 yards down to Gallia Academy's 30. Then he's going to connect with Andrew Henthorn down to the 3-yard line with under 20 seconds left. And he's going to cap off the 11-play drive with a Jake Scott out of the backfield, 3-yard touchdown, 11 plays, 58 yards, Josh. He threw the ball 11 straight times.
Wow.
Now you have to look at what happened here with this team. Leffingwell, he only threw the ball 29 times, 17 for 29, 174 yards, had the 2 INTs, but Austin Kuhn was the big man for them. He had 153 yards on the ground.
Just overall as a team, Gallia Academy, 52 points. That offense is just killing it, Graham.
It is, and you know, coming into this game between these two teams, they were more of a rushing attack. We always knew about 70%, 30% rushing, and their offense was on cue. 237 yards in the first half on the ground for Gallia Academy, 317 total yards. You have to look at what what Ty Warnemont did. He had 4 rushes, 131 yards, and a touchdown, all in the first half. So between what he did here, you have to look. All right, Josh. In the first half, he had now averaged 17.7 yards on rush, or every single rush coming in onto that after that rush.
All right, well, Gallia Academy 3-0 in the SEOAL. Maybe heading towards that title they've been waiting for. Thanks a lot, Graham.
Thank you.
Now, Gallia Academy and Warren wasn't the only game from around the SEOAL tonight. For more on the other 2 league matchups and what to expect the rest of the season, we now welcome Carter Rodriguez and Charlie Walter, who is making his Gridiron Glory debut. Fellas, what's going down around the league?
Well, Josh, all 6 SEOAL teams were in action tonight. Charlie, what happened?
Well, Logan beat Chillicothe 28-7. That's 2 wins for Logan in league play thus far. Jackson handled Portsmouth 35-7 to keep that record unblemished. And Gallia Academy cruised to a 52-21 victory over the Warriors of Warren as they remain top of the league.
Well, yeah, and you know, we're getting near the end of the season, which means the conference title picture is starting to clear up. And Logan's sitting there at 2-1, kind of on the outside. The Chiefs are going to have to top Gallia Academy in week 9, and then Warren in week 10, and then have Gallia lose to Jackson in week 10. So, you know, it's going to be a little tough for Logan to make a push. It's really down to these top 2 teams.
Yeah, Gallia Academy has a very balanced team this year. Wade Jarrell, one of the top players in the league, has a strong, precise arm that he has been showing off all season long. He can get outside that pocket as well, a true dual-threat quarterback, and you have to credit the offensive line. They have done a great job all year allowing Jarrell to make those plays. The question mark is the defense. 20 points given up a game this year. If they can keep that run game of Jackson under control, they have a great shot to take the crown. They travel to Logan next week, but we're going to focus on that Jackson game, Carter.
Well, yeah, and that Jackson team lost 3 straight midseason against very tough competition, admittedly. They played Granville, Athens, and Wheelersburg, and they didn't have Morgan Landrum 2 of those 3 games. But, you know, right now for the Jackson Ironmen, I'm just thinking they're missing that signature win. They came into Ironton and beat them last year, kind of set the tone for the rest of the season. They don't really have that this year, and you know, it might just be week 10 against Gallia Academy. But, you know, they've got Chillicothe next week. That's a winnable, not a gimme game by any means. However, it's really, as you said, all about that week 10 game against Gallia Academy. So, Charlie, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Who's going to win the SEOAL title?
Well, Gallia Academy went on the road and took down Athens, while Jackson lost a close one to the Bulldogs at home. I like the transitive property as well as the play of Wade Jarrell in this one. Gallia Academy wins, Carter.
All right, Josh, back to you.
All right, fellas, looks like it's coming down to that Week 10 battle for the third year in a row. Thanks. Now, well, I told you we'd come back with some highlights, TVC-Ohio fans, and the time is now. Nelsonville-York entered tonight riding a 5-game winning streak. In that span, they've scored 50 points a game while allowing only 9. With playoffs seemingly out of reach for the visiting Alexander Spartans, they were just playing for some bragging rights. And add that and some bad blood between these teams, and you have a very chippy game of the week. Well, we are now welcomed by our TVC-Ohio veteran, Mark Pierce. Mark, this game could really shake things up if it went Alexander's way in the TVC-Ohio.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're in week 8 right now, so we're getting this is clutch right now. We're getting to the big time. At this point in the season, Nelsonville-York is the only team that can ruin Athens' hopes of a repeat TVC-Ohio championship. In order to do that, they can't falter, especially against a struggling Alexander team. The Bulldogs rocked Vinton County tonight, 58-0, to remain undefeated in the conference. The Buckeyes would follow suit. It was homecoming in the orange and brown country, so we want to congratulate the king and queen. There I am. I'm just kidding.
Mark.
I'm just kidding. I didn't win. Courtney Lexi won, and Max Van Dyke won. Excuse me there. Anyways, Brayton Jones not off to the start that he wanted. He gets picked off, and this is a beautiful return by Mark Carter down in the Spartan territory, getting it done. Perfect position for the Buckeyes. And then from there, 4th and 17 now, a jump ball to Austin North down to the 6-yard line. Northwood rushing in from 5 yards out for the 14-0 lead. After a Spartan 3-and-out, Nelsonville-York on the verge of another score, but it would come at a price. Here we go. Boom! Ooh, way in the wood. Tyler Smith lights up Joey Young there, but the Buckeyes weren't rattled at all. Sharing the rock on offense, Zach Mays gets the Spartans or the Buckeyes up 21-0. The only bright spot on the night for Alexander, a 22-yard fumble recovery by Josh Barnes.
Scoop and score.
There you go, 21-7 your score, but no surprise on the next drive, the Buckeyes only needed one play. Clint, just being Clint, takes the rock 55 yards for the 28-7 lead, and at this point, we're just taking it on. Joey Young gets in on the action, embraces the hit, and adds 6 points to the scoreboard. Finds the orange turf there, and what would a highlight call be without a little bit of trickery? Joey Young rushes past the line of scrimmage, but he's going to lateral pass it over to the sideline where Austin North awaits. 33-yard waltz into the end zone, 41-7 is your final score. 55, or is your halftime score. 55-7 is your final score. It was Clint Handa show, 177 yards on the night.
Well, Mark, Nelsonville-York hitting that 50-point average over the past 5 games. That offense is rolling, buddy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you got so many weapons there for the Buckeyes. Clint Handa was the story tonight. 17 carries, 177 yards, and they got the job done. So, yeah, great job for the Buckeyes tonight.
All right, Alexander, on the other hand, they've given up 132 points in just the past 2 weeks. Where do they go from here, Mark?
It's tough. At this point in the season, you're in week 8, and it's hard. The season's bait. You're not going to get a TVC-Ohio championship this year if you're the Spartans, so you really just want to dial in, focus up, and get some experience, end the season on a positive note.
All right, Mark, thanks a lot. We're all looking forward to that Athens-NY Week 10 matchup. Thanks, buddy.
Yep.
Now, to keep up with our coverage every day of the week, log on our website at woub.org/gridiron. There you can find game previews, videos, and score updates on all of our featured teams. You can also find standings, playoff seedings, and see which games we will be covering in Week 9. Now, it's now time on our show to give you a second look at tonight's most impressive moments. So tell your friends to come back from the bathroom and get the TiVo and popcorn ready for another edition of our top plays. Now, you just saw this game. We're going to start out here. Number 3, Nelsonville-York's Joe Young drops back here and then takes off for a nice run, gets to the outside. I'm going to let you listen to Alexander Tyler Smith's hit here. Yeah, that was pretty solid. Coming back to that game in a few. Fed Hawk here at number 2. Andrew Smith, looking like Maurice Jones-Drew, coming out of the backfield, breaking one there, and then just using his speed for the rest of the way. A 51-yard touchdown. They would win this one 55-0. Nelsonville-York back to this one. Joe Young would get the last laugh. Alexander drops back for a QB draw here, doesn't find anything. Well, that's the point of a QB draw. Takes off the middle and then just throws it sideways to Austin North. Nobody saw that coming. North gets a huge crackback block there and takes it to the end zone. They win this one 55-7. Now, well, we're almost to the point in our show where we let you know our Player of the Year candidates. But before we get there, take a look at where Gridiron Glory is headed in Week 9. The last 2 weeks of this 2012 season bring us decisive conference matchups with playoff implications. Jackson will try and keep their SEOAL three-peat hopes alive when they return home to take on Chillicothe. Over in West Virginia, Williamstown will try and continue their late playoff push against Parkersburg Catholic. In TVC-Ohio action, Nelsonville-York and their powerful rushing attack will head to a Vinton County squad who has only grabbed one win this season. Over in the Hocking, Federal Hocking will host Eastern in a must-win game to keep playoff hopes alive. We'll also be going to that game to select our next Fan of the Week, so be sure to meet us there. Week 9 is always a huge week for the MVL. For starters, TriValley will welcome rival Sheridan and for the first time in a while, be heavily favored. Our game of the week will feature Philo at Maysville. The Electrics are allowing just 7 points a game, while Maysville is scoring 22 points for each of their matchups. Now the moment you've all been waiting for. Through 8 weeks of action and careful consideration, we finally came to a decision for our top 5 candidates in this year's running for the Gridiron Glory Player of the Year. There you have it, folks. Connor Stanley, Joey Burrow, Austin Jones, Blake Atkins, and Wade Jarrell are our top 5. We'll be following each of these players very closely for the remainder of the regular season as well as playoffs. So spread the word to all of your friends that the voting starts next Friday. That's all the show we have for you tonight. So until next time, and for our entire crew, I'm Jaush Huntsberger reminding you that there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.